Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. We should really start this off by saying a big thank you to Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah, he's given us a couple video ideas.
He's given us talking points and topics and things from an equipment standpoint, and just the way he's playing the game standpoint to discuss and debate. And so on the telecast yesterday, I never saw this, but I was kind of tagged at a bunch of things, and I think you saw a bunch of things.
Yeah.
There was a comment by, I think it was Nick Faldo, about Bryson getting Fliers. One of the reasons he's maybe not quite as consistent with the wedges is because of the graphite shafts and potentially getting Fliers with those graphite shafts. Now, that's something that probably has been labelled or sort of held against graphite as a material in irons and wedges for a while, but I think it's probably fair to say that we don't see that.
It's an outdated, it's an opinion first of all, and it's probably an outdated one based on how far the technology has come. Maybe at one point, 25 years ago, when it sort of was prevalent, he might have been right then.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening now. I think Bryson's wedge distance control is not at its best right now because of what he's working on with his swing. I think he'll get it. And when he gets it, everyone else is screwed.
I know.
But you know, he's hitting it. He's swinging 135 miles an hour, and then he needs to hit a 75-yard shot. Like, you try that. Like, it's hard.
Well, I think that's the thing with if we want to compare it to someone like Rory McIlroy.
Yeah.
Someone like Rory who's always driven it so good, and his swing is built to be a driver swing.
Correct.
It's not really built to be a great wedge swing, and he's working on that obviously, and that's something for him. But Bryson's probably going through some of the similar stuff right now. So, you know, but we're going to isolate the wedges, the shafts, should I say, and the wedges and the shafts and the irons, and we're going to see if we think graphite is somewhat less consistent.
I mean, the numbers don't lie, and we'll find out if that's the case. My reaction was, I just think he'll work on his technique and he'll be fine.
Yeah.
I don't expect the graphite to perform worse, but we're going to try it out and see what happens.
And just to sort of touch back on the graphite, the reason he went with these Texas rebar shafts was to minimize deflection completely.
They're stiffer than a steel shaft anyway.
Any steel shaft.
That part of the conversation, it makes it furthermore unlikely that his shafts are giving him Fliers.
Exactly. So we have the Texas rebar that we tested a few weeks ago. We're going to test that against an X7 in a 6-iron.
Just as a baseliner?
Just as a baseliner, and look at the standard deviation and see if there's any inconsistencies in that. Then we're going to go over to the wedges. We're going to do another X7 versus the TZW. So not to make this a conversation about the Texas rebar shaft that Bryson uses. This is graphite versus steel.
It's the material difference.
That's it.
Basically.
You know, is it less consistent? You know, are people sacrificing a little bit of something? Let's do the test. Let's find out if Faldo's right or wrong.
And a Flyer, by definition, is basically just a low spin shot. Am I wrong?
Exactly. So Flyer, by definition, would be a shot where you would retain or increase your ball speed and reduce your spin rate.
Leading
so the
to
ball
a long
would
shot.
the ball would go further than you would expect it to go based on all the factors that you're expecting to play.
And we'll look at the standard deviation as basically the telltale sign. If it's close enough, then basically myth busted.
I think that's likely to be the parameter that we focus on the most. Not how far does it go, not even what the spin rate is.
No.
How tight are they? How consistently does it do what it does?
Exactly.
I think that's what we're looking for here.
Perfect. Okay. So a couple 6-irons with a steel.
Start off with those, yep. Couple of tasty little 6-irons to get us going. Right in your wheelhouse here with a little T100 and an X7. That's nice. Okay, lovely.
Some standard stuff.
That sounded really nice. Okay, Matty boy, that was pretty that was pretty good actually.
Myth busted.
I mean, that's a lot of shots, right?
Oh my God.
Launch angle, spin. I mean, you couldn't pick those two flights apart if you saw them. There's nothing.
And it's not even just that the average is identical, it's that the standard deviations are identical, and if anything, the graphite standard deviation was hair better.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look at that there. Look at on the efficiency.
Yeah.
If there was going to be one thing here that kind of showed us, if there was a flyer to be had,
forgot about that.
It would be you doing the same thing and the club doing a different thing.
Correct.
The standard deviation is non-existent. It's the same. It's the same speed, delivered loft, strike point. I mean, we know sometimes that can show the strike point, you know, a little bit away from where it actually is. I mean, the strike point's exactly the same.
There's no parameter that it was worse in standard deviation. It was better or the same.
Yes.
For all of them.
Yeah.
So we barely touched any of those shots.
Yeah.
I made one with each that I told you we were just a crap swing.
Yeah.
The rest of them all stayed, and none of them were long at the green. I didn't hit any over the green.
Okay.
Done.
So there's this sort of iron. Now, Faldo was talking about wedges specifically.
So here we are.
This is where it's going to get interesting.
Definitely.
You know, obviously Texas Rebar and X7, two monsters. Mm-hmm. TZW and X7, which is what we've got in the steel here, a bit different.
Yep.
We know TZW is more like an S400 by profile.
But I think it makes sense. I like that you've done that because we're not here to talk about they're the same stiffness. It's not about that. It's basically just like,
correct.
Obviously one's going to fit you, one won't.
Yeah.
Can you get a proper consistency out of the shaft? That's what actually matters.
That's it. And we want to see if you use maybe a graphite that's a fraction softer, because we know the way Texas Rebar plays it's so stiff. If you use a softer graphite, does that lead to the flyer?
Right. So and then it will come up.
It will do, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, gap wedge at 120 here for you, Matty.
Okay, steel first.
Go in.
Go. A little short. Oh. Nice.
All right, Matty boy, good job. That was pretty cool, wasn't it?
It was really cool, yeah.
Pretty interesting to dive in there and take a look at both the irons. We saw nothing in the iron. If anything, we were probably slightly in a tighter spin window.
Yep.
Tighter ball speed window with the Texas rebar.
Agree.
I was interested to see how the TZW would compare to the X7 and the Wedge. When it came to ball speed, it was next to nothing on standard deviation. Launch angle was the same. Spin rate within 100, which I would say is negligible at that point.
It was it was super good on maintaining good spin, which
really,
is
really
the definition of the anti-flyer, isn't it?
Yeah, the kind of spin control is the absolute key to being a good wedge player.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about that.
If you drop spin 500-600 on a 50-degree wedge, that's 6 yards. Could be a missed green or a missed kind of pin high window.
On efficiency, there was nothing in it. Path, angle attack, I mean, they're decimals apart from one another.
Yeah.
So the reality is you are given absolutely nothing up by using graphite over steel.
There's no consistency lost. If anything, I mean, this is a bit subjective, but here we gained. We gained a bit. And this is the first time we've ever just, I mean, that in terms of testing, we only swung for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We just hit both.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever tested that much steel and graphite back and forth that close together. So I think the testing method was probably the best we've done.
Yeah.
We kept everything very, like, no rest, no, nothing, just keep swinging. And they showed up to be basically the same.
There's no reason not to have a graphite option. And hopefully the people who play graphite out there and play it well are sort of, feel a little more vindicated, by seeing this.
Not only is the final shakeout good, legitimately not one shot went over the green in graphite with a 6-iron or a wedge. Not one shot actually flew too far.
At no point did you have a kind of plummet in spin rate, increase in ball speed, like a spike, an unexpected spike.
I'm glad we did this because I think if I was watching that telecast, I had spent the money to go get fit.
Yeah.
I'd really saved up, maybe I did get graphite in my wedges, maybe I have some tendonitis, I've invested quite a lot of money in that.
Yeah.
And then you hear, someone on the telecast go, oh, he's going to get Fliers from that. I'd be devastated. I'd be like, oh my God, did I just spend all that money? My wedge distance control is probably no good now. Should I go back to steel? And then that whole decision just gets clouded for you. So to me, this is I don't know, it doesn't get much more clear than that.
I think it's a little bit more technique than kind of material content in the clubs.
I think it's pretty clear that whatever shaft he has in there, technique's going to override it, and the clubs, he's built them the way they need to be. He'll be fine.
But listen, at this point, we're not going to bet against him figuring it out, are we?
No, he will figure it out, I bet you, and his strokes gain will be better with wedges next week for sure.
Especially when he sees the value that his driving attributes are now bringing to the table. So he will see such an emphasis on those wedges, and I'm absolutely sure he'll figure it out. So
agree.
The one thing he doesn't need to be concerned about though is the material of his shafts.
Wedge shafts safe, no Fliers.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed that little dive into a little bit more maybe of a technical breakdown, but. Clearly, from our standpoint, we do not believe that graphite is an inferior material when it comes to tour speed golf swings or distance in general or consistency on distance control. It's just a non-factor, so you definitely don't ever need to worry about that. Okay, guys, stay with us. Lots more to come this week. We'll see you again soon.